Hello, Grey Couch family.
Hi,
This is Stanley,
and Otito.
and thanks again for tuning in, for
Yep.
joining us.
Mm-hmm.
We're continuing our Secret Sauce series. This is the third one, and today, what we're going to be talking about
Mm-hmm.
is one of the easiest to grasp, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, but
Mm-hmm. But
also
the
the
hardest.
quickest to forget. You know, it's you understand the concept, but it's easy to
Mm-hmm.
forget. Now,
Mm-hmm.
before we go, remember the other two were one, staying friends,
Mm-hmm.
and two, trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that this particular one, culture plays a big role in how you perceive it,
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about respect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before I go on, a funny story in this area of respect,
Uh-huh.
one of my colleagues at work, and if you're watching this, you know yourself, told us that his wife used to wash his feet when he came back from work. Yes, his feet when he came back from work. And you can imagine how my American and Haitian and other colleagues, female, married and unmarried, reacted when they heard this.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
They were like, hell no. So washing feet. But it was their culture.
Yep.
And that's how they shared respect, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I mean, what was that on story? I remember where were we? I think we were at the airport, right in Nashville, and I was trying to use the restroom, and I said, "Can you hold my bag for me?" It's like, no, and I was like, "What?" I was just like I don't know, so I was confused to be honest. I said, "Why can you not hold the woman's bag?" And men are not supposed to hold women's bag, right?
I see.
And I just bust out laughing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Uh, okay. Tell me about this. Let's explore this a little bit more. So you can imagine that the rest of the journey was spent exploring that I cannot hold your bag, I can hold your bag. This was many years ago, by the way.
Thanks for clarifying. I thought she was trying to disrespect them.
Lord
But
Jesus.
again, that culture concept. Now,
Mhm.
oh, this are not supposed to do that. But then respect. I mean, how would you define respect?
Respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, I guess this is where you find two people just viewing things from opposite sides
Respect.
of the spectrum. Like it was not even something that ever crossed my mind because I grew up where, you know, my father used to carry my mother's stuff all the time. Like we just used to be like, why are you carrying stuff if this man is going to be the one, dragging it around? So yeah, it was something that we had to talk about, but that was just a tiny fragment of
Okay.
what we
Yeah.
talk about respect through the years. Because respect to someone could look at it in your tone of voice, in your mannerisms, in the way that you refer to them. And that tone of voice becomes interesting because, as Nigerians, you have people that call their husbands daddy, sir. Yeah,
My
but
Oga.
yeah, but then I always say to myself, that is not necessarily a full to me, that's just a way of naming. It doesn't mean that you respect the person. Like you can call someone daddy all you like, but your behavior is disrespectful, right? And I grew up with the side of behavior as opposed to names. I call all my older ones by name, right? For instance, which was kind of like a shock to many people. The same way it was a shock to them that it was a shock to me that they'll call their brothers and sisters auntie and uncle. I'm like, but they're your brother and sister. Like, what's going on here? So yeah. So families of origin brings a lot into
Into
that,
play.
right? As well
Yes,
as
yeah.
culture. And so it took us a while to kind of just tease through this concept of love, of respect, right?
Mm.
And that's because we read this book called Love and Respect. Yeah, if
Mm.
you're a Christian couple, you probably heard about
Mm.
this book somewhere or the other. Very tough book to finish
Mm.
because we were just like, I don't know about these concepts, right? But we stuck
Slug through
through
it. Oh.
to the end. And basically, it's, respect is holding another person in honor,
Yeah.
right? Holding them in high regard, in honor. So, what would you do, right? If you were to consider that you were holding somebody in high regard, the way you will stand before a king is not the way you stand before like an ordinary person. So, I guess it's the mentality behind that because what happens is that we tend to take each other for granted when you've been married for too long,
Yeah.
right? Especially, sometimes the women in that sense, where you just feel like, why are they not getting it? Like, just even your whole demeanor is just like, oh, don't bother me, right? And so to us, those are the little things that we would call out as being disrespectful. And again, respect is, to me, it doesn't just go because the person is older or because of their status, because you should also respect children, right? It goes in both directions. It's that idea of seeing the person for who they are, right? And in this case, in a married relationship, you're seeing the man for the husband that he is. Like it's the role, I guess, that you're paying respect to or you're respecting, and not necessarily the person. Because if you consider it in that way, then the respect will automatically flow toward the person of that person, right?
The person of that person. The person in that role.
Yeah. So I mean, what else do you think about respect? What would you consider respect? I would say, like, what is something?
So that you just threw me off field with respecting children, because that's a whole different kettle altogether. But I see them, and what comes to mind is not just respecting the individual, but you're respecting as Christians, you're respecting the divine in them, you know. And true. So, you know, but different stages of marriage or different things come to play in that. When you're newly married, no water under the bridge, and the whole world's in front of you. You haven't made mistakes, haven't had disappointments. Easy to respect the person and that. But as you go further down, you know, disappointments, hurts, things like that, you stop to see that person for the potential and just see all the mistakes. So it's harder to respect the longer. And then there's also the thing of taking the person for granted, whether you've always been there, you've always slept the same way, snoring and things like that. And so we start to reduce. And my fear with the other side, disrespect, is that disrespect is a close cousin to contempt. And contempt is that thing whereby I am better than you are, you know, because of social status, education, how much money I'm making, or just gender, you know. And when that seeps into a relationship, a marriage, then you now start to see this disrespect disappear. Disrespect appear. And respect disappear. You know. Well,
that's true. I mean, but my question, you know, I always kind of ask the hard questions. That is kind of, I don't know.
That's her thing.
How do you respect a person who has not shown themselves worthy of respect, right? I feel like this is where now, as people who are, you know, Christ followers, right, the game changes for you, because ideally you should not be the one determining that a person is worthy or not worthy of respect. You should just respect them, right? But there are situations where the person has mismanaged money, they've not catered for the household, and
infidelity.
And you know, there's strong words for people who don't take care of their household, right? Like, it's kind of like infidel, if you want to think about it. And so the question now becomes, if you're living with you know, such a person, what do you do? Right? And that's where I always think about the story of Abigail, right? If you're a Christ follower, you know the story of Abigail and Nabal. And you know, Nabal was very wealthy, so if it was a question of status, you would say the wife should have respected him, but he did not pay respect to the king, right? He disrespected the king, and the king was going to come for him. And I feel like the wife, in order to save the household, actually almost like disrespected him, right? She went to the king and said, "Don't mind that fool." Like, she literally said, "Don't mind that old fool. He doesn't know what he's doing." And she kind of corrected the thing. And I kept saying, if she was going by the standard of just, respect, she wouldn't have said anything. She wouldn't have entered into that situation. And guess what? We'll not be hearing her story today, because the family would have been wiped out in that sense, right? And so I think sometimes it's situational. I think that's what I'm trying to say, that we're not saying in the context of respect that you're just going to be there like a doormat, right? You also have to respect your own self and the divine in you, and say, I'm not going to take X or Y. And by not saying that it's not combative, it's not like it's, you know, but you just know in your mind that I deserve to be treated well. I deserve to, you know, I deserve all these things as, you know, a person who's carrying the divine within me. And then on the basis of that, you know what actions to take. But I also say that if you are disrespecting somebody, you would know. You would know. Like it's not it's not something you can hide, right? The mannerisms, the way of speaking, the tone, the sarcasm, it comes out, right? As much as you try to hide it, it's like containing water in a barrel that is like leaking, one day to just poof, right? But it's there. And so the question is, how do you mitigate that? How do you make it not continue to be? How do you step back and say, oh, how do I moderate my actions, right? And so the question is always, how would you speak to your best friend?
Okay. From what we're discussing, apparently, as with all things, is easier to keep respect in a healthy relationship than try and build it back up, as in to build back what is broken, as with all things. So, I mean, the stage or the age you're in, or keep those
things
that will keep, and that's acknowledging the person for what they do, the good thing, because nobody's completely bad. Even if it's just one good act, to acknowledge it and we let the person know so that they reinforce that habit, and then watch out for those cutting remarks and those insulting behaviors, like you are an idiot, or you always do this,
the old fool.
No. But for those difficult relationships where respect has to be re-earned. Respect has to be earned. There are some difficult conversations, and that's where boundaries come in. Conversations where about, okay, this is how this made me feel. This is what I was hoping to get from you. Are you able to come to the table with this? Because it takes two to tango. If someone feels that, oh, I haven't even done anything wrong, or there's nothing wrong with me, you're not speaking the same language.
And honestly, that part is hard, right? Because there are people who, for whatever, and I hate to say it, and I don't like calling people narcissists, but I feel like there are certain cadres of people that narcissism runs deep, right? Because you're not even noticing it. You're just so absorbed in the fact that I'm the head of the household, everything runs through me, everything has to come through me, and my word is law, right? Those kinds of things. So it becomes hard, because how do you speak with a person who is not even aware that they need to have a conversation, right? They haven't come to that self-awareness, they're not interested. And so the question is then, what do you do, and so and that's where when I asked the question about how do you respect the person who's not worth their respect, this is where you just have to keep doing, speaking kindly, doing the things that to do are the right things, right? And not reacting to the other party's stance or behavior or anything, right? And just taking care of your own inner state of being. In that sense, easier said than done.
That's about to say. And here's what I think, as our culture helps, because in our culture, there's always an elder or someone that person respects. They might not listen exactly. They might not listen to you, but they will listen to someone that they revere. And then it might be a step in the right direction. But the thing with that is performance based. Once the person is gone, will they continue in that habit?
True.
So interesting dialogue.
And then I think for, because most times this comes from the woman to the man, not that we're trying to break down gender or whatever, because you can totally be disrespectful of your wife. But when we think about love and respect, we're thinking, women respect your husbands. Something that one needs to think about here is that when you recognize that no one is perfect too, neither you nor the person that you're in relationship with, then you approach it from a more compassionate way, right? In that sense. And take it one step at a time, or one word at a time. I would say one word at a time, one conversation at a time, one behavior at a time, right? In that sense.
So that's what we have for you for this week. Respect for each other, acknowledge what they do, don't start with an insulting, critical word, and grow that respect baby. From our couch to yours, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye for now.